Hey guys, we're back with another focus on this old laptop, or not laptop, desktop from 2008. One of the things I did right off the bat, because I could, is I made backup media. Yeah, it has a backup media creation tool. It requires 3 DVDs, so I went ahead and made those. That way, if the hard drive dies, I can reinstall it using the factory install using these 3 DVDs. And the old, yeah, remember these things? Optical drives. That's what those are for. It's about the only use that they used to get a lot of times was strictly just to create the backup media, and then pretty much after that, at a certain point, DVDs just were not a thing anymore. So here we go. Why we're back, other than me talking about making backup media, is to zoom in on some of the specs we can get from these simple Windows tools, and we can dig into the hardware from a software point of view. And I always like these tools because they present information pretty well. So this is the CPU that this system is running, and as you can see, it's a dual core, but there is definitely some room for improvement and better performance with the system. But one thing I'll say, it beats a Celeron. The type of manufacturer of the motherboard is Foxconn, and there's the basic information about it. They're using the GeForce NVIDIA for the chips. And yeah, they're using Phoenix technology for the BIOS, and the BIOS is fairly old, 2008 roughly the time when it came out. So there may have been some updates, but I don't generally do that, mess around with that, because you can brick it. So usually if it's running fine, I leave it alone. DDR2 memory, running single channel, which is surprising to me, running at 400 megahertz. I'm not exactly sure why it's running in single channel. It might just be that the motherboard only supports single channel. And of course it's the original RAM, because we can see it's 2008 when this computer was first manufactured. And it's running Samsung, and it's running at optimal frequency, optimal speed, and pretty much the chips are identical, so we know they're pretty much original with the system. Graphics, we've already talked about that because it's slapped on the outside of the case, but yeah, there you go. It's the NVIDIA GeForce 7100 with 128 megabytes of DDR RAM. So that's why we can see that this thing isn't going to do, or hasn't proven itself not to do, incredibly great with graphics, but it did give us 720p for YouTube running under Mint, so we'll see how it does running under Vista with the Supermium browser, which we'll be getting into a little later. So to kind of summarize everything, this has a nice little representation, plus it gives us some temps. So this tells us that the temps are running a little warm, 42 degrees, 41 degrees. Seems a little warm for not really doing a whole lot. We'll see how that so the thermals might not be the best arrangement within this small case. Not a ton of ventilation aside from that single fan over the CPU. So yeah, but it does have a lot of venting underneath and holes here and there, so yeah, it's not terrible, and it's not fit in the 50s like some of these AMD systems I've encountered, doing next to nothing. But whatever. And there you go. There's all the basic info about the system. It's got that nice hard drive there. We'll look a little bit more deeper into that in a minute. And it has Realtek audio. Excuse me. And then let's take a look at the hard drive. Wow, this is a concern. See, isn't it good that I backed up the system using these DVDs over here? Because look, we're getting a warning, a caution. So, reallocated sector count. That is actually a fairly common thing with older hard drives, and it doesn't necessarily indicate that it's about to die, but it certainly is not a good thing whenever you get anything like that. And if we look at the hours, we can see why. It's roughly, I did the math up here, and that's about a little over 3 years, 3.16 years of use. But if we look at the power on count, we can see that's like a lot of power ons. So I also did the math on it, and for every power on count, this ran for about 3 hours and 20 minutes. So that tells you the reality of this thing. This thing was heavily used desktop system, and the fact that nothing's been upgraded on it, and looking at the system for what it was, I doubt it was doing much more than just web browsing and maybe business use. So not a whole lot of demand for high performance or anything, especially with the low spec it was. And they maintained it as a Vista system. That tells me a lot about. Sorry about that. I must have brushed the play button and it paused, or I must have brushed the pause button and it paused. Anyway, so I think I pretty much made my point about the hard drive there. So what we're going to test out here is Supermium on this thing. Supermium, just so you know, is a Chromium-based browser that runs on Vista, and it runs on XP. And it allows you to access sites like YouTube and play YouTube videos, as well as like, Wikipedia and those types of sites that would normally have some challenges, or even the Internet Archive, you can access it. It would have trouble if you were trying to use an old browser. I believe there's a few other ones out there, but this is the one I happen to have experimented with in the past, and it seems to work okay. So I think what we'll do is we'll use one of my videos, because it's probably not going to get an ad on it if I play it from here. And let's see how it does playing let's start off. We'll do the same thing we did last time. I'll put it at 1080p. We'll give it stats for nerds. Oops. Come on, you can do it. There you go. No. Come on. Stats for nerds. There we go. There it is. All right. We'll set that up like this. And let's take a look and see how this thing does running Supermium under Vista. Hey everybody. We're back with another video about this guy. Okay, so I'm seeing pretty much the same kind of performance that we were getting from the Mint situation. So let's switch it down to 720, and what we'll do is we'll just bring this back here and wait for it to finish buffering, and let's go and try that. Hey everybody, we're back with another video about this guy. Slimline s3720f. Now, if I'm speaking a little funny, it's because half my face is frozen. Okay, so interesting. So Mint beats out running this browser under under, let's get out of there. Running this browser under Vista. I'm a little, this is interesting. It's interesting. So Mint really makes for a better OS for one of these systems if you are going to plan to use it for more of a realistic
video about this
playing videos. Because this, I'm getting really bad performance.
Slimline s3720f. Now, if I'm speaking a little funny, it's because half my face is frozen. I just got back from a dentist appointment.
So even running it
work done, so
360p is not an impressive.
Half my face, I cannot feel it.
I'm still getting drop frames.
So,
wow.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting video. But yeah,
I mean, you can get away with 360.
You knew I was going to do this, right? You knew I was going to boot up.
It hasn't really dropped anything.
A version of Mint on
drops.
This thing and see how it
wow.
played YouTube video. So
scary.
I decided to go with a little lighter kind of Mint, a 32-bit version for this system because it's so old. It's 2008. So I went with this one, which is 19.3, and and just looking down at the specs here, I realize this. Okay, it mentions the Pentium. We know that. We know about the NVIDIA graphics.
Well,
but I was expecting it to have.
It does play. It's dropping some frames, but the audio is pretty steady. I'm pretty impressed with Mint after this. Trying this out on Vista and using this Supermium. So there you go, guys. That was an eye-opener. So if you are planning on using this for more than just a hobby system that you want to play around with old software on for Windows, you really need to do yourself a favor and install Mint on it. It will play videos and appear to run better. Now, this is the final thing we typically, you know me, I like my Nova Bench stuff, so let's give this thing a run for its money and see what kind of frame rates and stuff we get. And it's not responding. Okay, here we go. It's probably unloading Supermium. Supermium's a pretty demanding program for an old system like this to boot up and to use. But yeah, I was surprised with such bad performance on that video that we watched. Oh, excuse me, I get tired. Let's see how we do. I'm interested in seeing what the performance score on this is. I would say probably the 400s based on what I'm seeing so far. I'm just guessing though. I'm more interested in seeing the frame rate because that has been quite interesting. Oh yeah, there you go. That's the weak point, eh? It's those graphics. That GeForce 7100 is not doing as awesome as excuse me, as advertised. Oh, it didn't even hit the 400s. So this is running like a it's running like a 2008 laptop. Anyway, so there you go, guys. That's the scores. The RAM is adequate. The hard drive is actually scoring quite well, but those graphics are pretty dire, not even hitting 50, which is really below my acceptable levels. And the GPU, or sorry, the CPU isn't that bad. I mean, it's pretty average. So really the weak point is right here, that graphics score. And that is so typical of these old systems, you know, these old Intel systems, and why I think AMD really got a hold in the market, and where they came out ahead is they started to really focus on, they couldn't, you know, maybe meet the CPU single core scores and things like that, but they started really focusing on getting better graphics scores, performance, and then multi-threading. And yeah, AMD is really rocking now. So yeah, really giving these guys a run for their money. So there we go, guys. That's going to be it for this video. I think I'll just leave that open for now. That's going to be I think the last video we're going to do. I was thinking of putting these recovery discs up on archive.org, because for those people who might have one of these systems here, having these recovery discs can be really handy, and especially we can see, you know, the hard drives start to wear. They're spinning metal, right? So they are going to eventually die. Every hard drive dies. So you might as well have something you can fall back on if you want, or if you want to even put in, I guess if you wanted to put in, I wouldn't put in a solid state drive in something like this. That just makes no sense to me. But if you were to replace the hard drive, I have a big box of them. I could easily replace this hard drive with something bigger, something smaller, something without any warnings, but I won't actually do that until it dies. I just back up my data, and there's no need. There's really no need. So that's gonna be it, guys. Thanks for tuning in again. This will be my last one. I know you're gonna, oh my God, this guy's doing this one again? What the heck? What's wrong with this guy? He got a 2008 computer. He just keeps on showing us more and more stuff about it. Well, I do, and I did. And this is going to be the last one, and then we'll move on to something else. I don't know what. I always am picking stuff up from the thrift store and trying it out, experimenting with it, and then I oftentimes will share with you guys what I gleaned from it. My videos are always going to be rough. They're going to be kind of like pieced together and not a lot of editing or anything, because that's the way I roll. If I spent any kind of time on these things, I'm not getting paid for them, well, then I probably just wouldn't bother doing them. Can you imagine if it took me hours to like edit these things? Why? And how much better would it really be? I mean, the focus is on the technology, right? It's on these things. It's on this thing. That's the focus is on, not on how great I am at editing videos and crap like that, right? So, you know, to me, it's why you won't see me in my videos, because the focus is on the tech, on the tech. That's what I want to focus in on. So that's it, guys. That's going to be the video. Thanks for putting up with me, and I'll see you in the next one.